itself, I understand there's about 850,000 supporters of more aid, not less, which is nearly a quarter of your population. So in a way, your Irish political reality and your European political reality is not so different. Now that might sound like a quarter. I mean, I'm extremely thrilled and proud of the nearly 170 million people we had taking action against poverty last October. That's nearly 2% of the world population. But the cynics who I also meet say to me, well, 98% weren't there, were they? And you can look at it that way. But what we actually need together is we need really transformation, and we need Europe to start being what it wants to be, what it promised to be, and what we all need. We need that tipping point. And I think the Irish politicians at the European level in the past have been important in tipping the scales, have punched possibly above the weight of what you would think a small country to be. And Holland is a country like that too. Holland is at 0.75 in real aid at the moment. But of course the same discussions are happening in Holland in this crisis. We want to keep it. Now, 2 scenarios. Am I getting a signal on time? Okay, good. I saw you pen up and I immediately. So it's a wonderful gender defined here, by the way. I noticed it before. I didn't know if it was political or accidental or what.
It used to be a Catholic country where the women's having no better.
Oh, that's sorry, I didn't realize. Okay. I want to just picture 2 scenarios towards the future and really appeal to Ireland to play its role in that. I'm also on an advisory commission on foreign affairs in Holland, and at the moment we're doing some research on the population growth in the world, and there's something called the youth bulge. I would think it's a rather nasty term, but anyway, and that's all the young people, the 50-60% young people in countries in Africa, etc. And the economists tell us that this, if they become productive, this can be an economic dividend for those countries. They can have economic growth and things will go well. That depends on one thing. That depends on whether they get health and education. That depends on whether they get health and education. And what are they not getting? Health and education. So what is the IMF doing? The political top of the IMF is saying, yeah, we've learned from the past and we're not going to do the wrong thing again, etc. There's a report out I would advise you to read called Education on the Brink. It's come out about 10 days ago from the Global Campaign for Education for All, showing that the IMF in the last 9 months has done the same things, has given loans to developing countries, have demanded that their governments cut their spending. That means less nurses, less teachers. Have demanded that they open up their economy. So we're back to the old DNA of IMF, as I call it. The structural adjustment situation. We'll be back into the debt crisis. We'll be back into, but particularly, we are back into those young people not getting education and health. Now what happens? This is the negative scenario. For the girls, it means they become domestic slaves or they become sex slaves wherever. And that's, I'm not lying on this, or they die. For the boys, it means we have a lot of young guys, I call it gangs, they get into the gangs and the guns. Because what other perspective have they? When we say tut-tut-tut about the Somalian pirates, we forget to refer to their background. They were fishers. Where did the fish go? I suspect some of our ships of Europe took those fish. Now they're pirates. They're catching other things. And so there's a tremendous question of the scenario of Somalia, the scenario of dropping back into self-interest, first at national level, Irish first, and then at clan level, and then at the warfare of that. We know what that's like. We see that in Somalia. We see it in Afghanistan. We see it in Eastern Congo, where those guys are surviving with their guns, and the guns are cheaper to get than bread sometimes. And they are raping and pillaging, because that's how they're surviving. And we're not investing in those kids. We're not investing in those kids you've just heard in other countries. That's the negative scenario. The positive is that we decide together that we don't try and fix this economic system, that we don't try and bail out the top and the greed, but we transform. And we have to transform. And the solutions are there. Go to the women, see their solutions, go to the local level, build ecological systems at the local level, invest in local agriculture, invest in local energy solutions, invest in local solutions for the climate crisis, and you create jobs, and you create a future, and invest in education and health, for God's sake. For that, we need not only development money, we need development and aid money, but also need fair trade, we also need the debts to stop. We need all the things we know all this. Now, we need that conviction to go into the European Parliament. European Parliament says we spend 20% on basic social services. They lie. They spend about 9% on basic social service, ODA, because they're calling everything that they call budget support now education and health, but their own accounting system says that's not true, it's about 9%. So go into Europe and get the coherence of the figures and get the spending on the education and health and get the fair trade and go after a transformed world where I don't have to meet women who tell me they have to choose which child to feed. Please, Ireland, Holland needs you, Europe needs you, we need you, and let's get on with transforming this world and stop bailing out